It's a Friday. It's a feature Friday, and fresh off seeing him last night at Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly's show at T-Mobile, here he is, Missouri Congressman Mark Alford on KCMO Talk Radio. You hear him on the weekends as well with Mark Alford's America. We'll get to that. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Good morning. Happy Red Friday.
There you go. You've got your red on. I've got my red on, and so do John and Mark. So
I had blue on, and Leslie said, "Are you actually wearing that down to see Pete Mundo? It is Red Friday. Get some red on." So I got some red on.
I'm glad somebody keeps you in order in that house, right? So I saw both of you last night. It was great to see you at the Tucker Carlson show. What'd you think?
Oh, man. What an event. You know, I've heard Tucker speak on the radio, on television all these years, but to see him in person, he got up there. I don't know how long he was at the podium for his introductory remarks. It had to be an hour. He did not have one note. There was not one pause or hesitation in what he had to say. I think he is anointed to spread the gospel of the conservative values of America.
He is very, very smooth. It's not like he's meandering and wandering. He knows what he wants to say, but he's just saying it without a prompter. He's just speaking. It's very impressive to watch. And I know he said to you and I got a chance to meet him before the show, and he goes, I thought I'd see you. I was waiting to see you, Mark Alford. So, you know, he was looking for you last night.
I told him I told his staff that I wanted to come, and so we got into the party ahead of time, which I was very gracious to have that opportunity. A little story, his son Buckley is the comms director for Jim Banks, who is a congressman who's going to run for Senate. He'll be the next senator from the great state of Indiana. Okay. Jim Banks is the sub-chair for military personnel on the Armed Services Committee, a good friend of mine. I'm on that subcommittee, so I just, I knew people.
Wow. Hey, it's good to know people, and it was a really good show. And by the way, place was packed. T-Mobile was
sold out. I had not been there I think the last time I was there, I was trying to remember. I saw George Strait, I guess maybe that was the last time I was there, but it felt like a real concert.
It did. People got up. I mean, they were on their feet. I love the guys who are always yelling. Some guys were yelling positive remarks, but, commenting from the side. I'm like, oh, those were probably callers to KCMO who are now yelling at Tucker Carlson. But it was a good show. And Megyn Kelly was great, too.
She was. And to hear her story, I had forgotten all the, what she had been through over the years with Fox and then NBC. But I'm so glad that she's doing well, and to hear her story and her inspiring words, really. I think one thing that's catching on, Pete, and the Democrats and the progressives try to spin this whole joy thing, the Republican conservative movement really has the hope in the future for the American people. We are the ones who believe in America, the greatness of America, the greatness of the American people. And I think you saw that there last night. There were smiles on people's faces, a hope for the future when President Trump gets back behind that resolute desk. We get rid of this overregulation in America. We get the economy cooking again, and we truly turn the page. Kamala likes to say, let's turn the page. Yeah, let's turn the page on you. You and Biden have been in there way too long destroying America.
There you go. Mark Alford is here fired up, and we still got 22 minutes left with him on KCMO. So what is going on in D.C.? You guys got back, of course, last week, post-Labor Day, or this week?
I got back last night. I flew into KCI at 4:30 and raced back to Lake Winnebago, picked up Leslie, and then raced back to the T-Mobile
that's
Center.
A quick turn.
Yeah, we were actually working. People think we don't work in Washington. We didn't get a lot done. I was disappointed. We got some messaging bills done. It was so-called China Week. I'm banned from going to China. The communist government there has been.
Is that right? You can't
outspoken. Go? Yeah. If you look it up.
So your spring vacation is canceled.
Not that I was going to go. Yeah. I love going to Taiwan, though, 78 miles from the mainland of China. I hope to go back there soon. But anyway, because we are supporting them in their defense against communist China, a potential invasion. We'll get into that a little bit with a B-21. I want to talk about that. But we have been working hard. We're trying to get these continuing resolutions from not taking over again. Yeah. I am so sick of these CRs. And if you're out there listening, probably most of you know what a continuing resolution is. But if you don't fund the government by the end of September, you have to pass an extension, basically. And what happens when you do that? It leaves a lot of uncertainty for people. It affects our military adversely. But unless we do that, until we pass all 12 appropriation bills, you're facing a potential shutdown of the government. Now, I know there's some people out in the audience, let's shut it down. My question to them is, then what? because the Democrat progressive-led media in America will blame it on the Republicans. Even if we take a stand for what is right, they will blame it on it will be the Republican shutdown. It costs more to open the government than it does to shut it down. And so we will get the blame. In an election year, when we're trying to get back in the White House, we're trying to grow our majority in the House, we're trying to win the Senate. That is not good. So the proposal right now from Speaker Johnson is a 6-month extension to carry us, I think, until March. Give President Trump a runway for the first 100 days. We're going to be able to do so much, Pete, through what's called reconciliation. Attach the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the renewal for that, which we desperately need. You know, if we don't renew that, it's going to mean an increase of $1,500 minimum for every family that's listening right now. That's minimum. So there are some things that we have to do. Now, the good news is that this time last year, we only have one of the 12 appropriation bills passed. This time around, we have 5 of the 12, which isn't perfect. Mm-hmm. But I liken this to turning an aircraft carrier in the ocean. We're not operating a ski boat here. You can't turn on a dime the way Congress operates. We are making headway. It's not good enough, but we are making progress, and that's what I'm hopeful.
So you got to get this done by the end of the month, right?
Yes.
That's when this shutdown would happen. I think the politics that you're talking about make complete sense. They'll blame it all on you.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, what are you going to get done anyway with a Democratic Senate and Joe Biden in the White House? You're not going to make any real change.
We barely control half of 1/3 of the government.
Yes.
It's hard to get anything done. That's why this is the most consequential election of our lifetime. Mm-hmm. And you hear that a lot, but I'm telling you right now, the future of America depends on people listening right now to get out and vote as early as possible. Do early voting, no excuse absentee. Call 10 people, text 10 people, email 10 people, get them to the polls like the Democrats do, and get rid of this nonsense that's going on from the Harris-Biden administration.
It seems like there's been a real change for Republicans on this with early voting, and I agree with it, right? If you get out early vote, then money that is used by the candidates can be targeted to other people.
Exactly.
Instead of you sitting there waiting till Election Day while you get mailers and digital ads when you know you're going to vote, but you don't need those ad dollars. They can spend it on other people that they got to get out to vote, right?
Well, and I remember in 2016 when President Trump was up for election the first time, I had a stomach virus. It was raining. I went out to Dick's Sporting Goods and bought one of those golf seats, collapsible, because I wanted to. I didn't want to, but I sat for 2 hours in the rain in Lee Summit at our polling place there because I wanted to vote for, I thought, the most historical candidate in history, Donald J. Trump. But it could be raining again. You could be sick. You could get, God forbid, in a car wreck or something. Do not wait till Election Day. Look, I grew up. My dad took us, and me and my 3 brothers, to go vote with him. I remember going into the polling place with him when he shut that curtain, and then he allowed us to pull the lever. Back then it was levers, old-timey voting machines. That did, we in America treat Election Day, historically we have, almost as a national holiday. It is something special to conservatives. The Democrats, they want an election season. They're trying to move it that way with ballot harvesting and a lot of mail-in voting. We've got to take the rules that are now in place and take advantage and make the most of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying concede, but we have to take advantage of the rules that are in place.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to early vote for the first time in my life this year, just because, I think it makes sense to do it based on everything you've been laying out. Mark Alford is here. We're going to take a quick break with the Missouri Congressman, come back with more on the other side on KCMO 95.7 FM. Missouri Congressman Mark Alford's in the house for our Feature Friday segment. Needs no introduction as the Missouri Congressman from the gosh, when you look at your district, by the way, I was just looking at it, 24 counties?
24 counties. We're in the heart of America, in the heart of Missouri.
Yes.
And just south of Kansas City, Cass County, Bates County, Vernon County, Barton County, all the way over just north of Springfield, along I-44 down there. We take in Pulaski County as our far northeastern county. That includes Fort Leonard Wood. Mm-hmm. Then we come up along Lake of the Ozarks. We're Camden County, Morgan County, up to I-70, half of Boone County. We get the same part of Columbia. All right, north of
you do.
Broadway.
Okay, the good part, yeah,
the good part, and then all the way over Howard County. Then we skip a county, Cooper County. We don't have anymore. We have Lafayette and Saline. I know there's a lot of listeners right now from Lafayette and Saline. They're so happy to have a Republican back representing them, and I love Lafayette and Saline's county.
Yeah, that's 4th Congressional District, changed, of course, with the last redistricting. So take me through what's going on with the B-21 and what you guys have done on that front.
Well, look, when I started campaigning three and a half years ago, people sat me down and said, hey, you're going to win this thing. We need to educate you about what's going on with the B-2 program. We all know the B-2. We love the B-2. Mm-hmm. We see it flying over Arrowhead.
Yeah, great.
But, that's almost 40-year-old technology now, and I've been up inside the B-2. It is,
That's got to be pretty cool.
It is really cool. I'm still trying to get a ride in that thing. My predecessor,
you got to get the ride.
Elk Sky, Ike Skelton and Vicky Hartzer have both been in a ride, and I'm determined to get a ride. But anyway, they said we are getting a new stealth bomber, but it's not guaranteed. Congress had appropriated and authorized the building of 100 of the B-21 Raider at a cost of over $650 million each. They're not cheap.
But $650 each?
I know.
Holy cow.
But I can't go into the classified details. Just rest assured it's a lot stealthier than what we have now.
Okay.
It's a different paint scheme. That's public knowledge. But anyway, they are needed to be a great deterrent against Communist China and other aggressors to the United States of America. Mm-hmm. And when the B-2 program started, we were going to build more than 100 of those. But because of the fall of the Soviet Union and because of the budgetary concerns, we only ended up building just over 20 of those. Mm-hmm. And so had we had those, I don't think you would have seen the aggression right now that you're seeing from Xi Jinping, even though a lot of that's because of the failed leadership of Joe Biden and the way he pulled out of Afghanistan. That weakness that he showed it really invited the aggressors of the world, Putin, the Iranian mullahs, Xi Jinping, to really put pressure, social pressure, economic pressure on Taiwan. And so we, under the 1972 Taiwan Relations Act, we are obligated to help in Taiwan's self-defense should there be an invasion. And I was over there a couple of months ago. I want to go back again. They're only 78 miles from the mainland of China. And every day now, China, with its military apparatuses, the planes and ships, are crossing over the median line in the Taiwan Straits. Now, some of your listeners may be asking, why do we care? 65% of the world goods, Pete, go through the Straits of Taiwan and the South China Sea. If and when it comes to a war between China trying to take over Taiwan, everything will be shut down. It will make COVID look like a cakewalk. It will dive us into a depression deeper than the one we had in the late 1920s. And that's not an exaggeration. It will shut down commerce all over the world. And so we have got to be a deterrent, and the B-21 is going to be part of that platform. It is a stealth bomber like none other. And we right now have authorized 100 of them to be built. We may be bumping that up to 147. We're working on that. But it is, I have been working feverishly to make sure that Whiteman Air Force Base gets in the rotation. The first wave of these will go to Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota. There was some fight over should the second or third wave go to Whiteman or Dyess down in Texas, and we have fought hard along with Senator Schmidt to make sure that it ends up at Whiteman. And this week we got the word, after 2 years of waiting, that the Secretary of the Air Force, who I've met with, it's coming to Whiteman.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. So what does that mean for that? Is that an economic boon as well for that area?
Now, General Bussier, who's the 4-star over the Global Strike Command, he's based in Barksdale. He and I have conversations. It's really weird, me having been on television like 3 years ago here in Kansas City, and now I'm talking to these 4-star generals about the future of America.
Yeah.
It's kind of surreal, but he wants to make Whiteman. They're not leaving. They're not taking Global Strike Command out of Barksdale, Louisiana. But Whiteman is going to be the center, the focal point of our stealth fighters. So you're going to have them based up in Ellsworth. You're going to have them based down in Dyess, down in Texas. But Whiteman is going to be the focal point.
Wow.
And it is exciting. Now, here's the other thing. we also have the A-10 out there, the Warthog. Mm-hmm. It was very useful in our conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. Could be really used in Europe, but the everything right now in military is geared towards the Indo-PACOM, the Indo-Pacific region, and China and Taiwan, the pacing threat from communist China. And so we've got to find a platform, and I'm pushing for a fighter replacement for the A-10. I'm continually hounding the Air Force. I even went up. This is kind of a funny story. Biden was late to the State of the Union address by 30 minutes because of the protesters.
Yes.
And he couldn't get through traffic.
Couldn't get through,
So we were all standing down the House floor, and there's nothing to do. I talked to all the senators. So I just went down in the well. I started talking to I said hello to all the Supreme Court justices. And I thought, well, heck, here's my chance. I'm going to go lobby the new chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Brown, to get some fighters out at Whiteman Air Force Base. So I gave him a challenge coin, and I once again told him, hey, we would really love to have a fighting force to replace the A-10, maybe the F-15EX. And he took note of it. I think he thought it was a little bit humorous. But I'm continually fighting for our district, our state, and our nation. We've got to rebuild the military that the Obama administration and the Biden administration has almost decimated, not just by taking away programs, but by turning generals into politicians. This whole DEI, CRT crud that they have promulgated and really indoctrinated and brainwashed the military with this. We've got to strip that out. We're working on that.
Mark Alford is here. We got a couple of minutes on KCMO Talk Radio on a Friday morning. So take me through then, when you look at, you just mentioned being on TV 3 years ago. You've had an incredible amount of success in a short period of time. But what's the toughest part of this job right now?
Pete, I have I was in television 35 years. I always had a side hustle. You know, I did real estate. I was really, I thought, selling a lot under Reese Nichols here. I love that. I had a custom clothing business. When I was in Houston, I roofed houses. In college, I had a landscape business. I've always been a go-getter. I have never worked this hard in my life. Never. And I'm not complaining. I love it. I love traveling our district. I put 100,000 miles on my Ford Expedition in 2 years. I just had to trade it in for a newer one. I love helping people. Pete, I went to the restroom last night at the T-Mobile Center.
Yep.
And this guy, I was out in the lobby, going back to my seats, and this guy who works there stopped me. And he says, "You don't know me, but I want to thank you." I said, "What about?" And he says, "Your staff helped me in a time where I really need it. I've been trying to get a passport for 2 years, and there was all these complicating factors I don't want to go into." He said, "I called your office, and I got it within a couple of weeks' time."
That's amazing.
It's about serving people.
Yeah, it is. Mark Alford. By the way, Mark Alford's America tomorrow, 1 p.m., Sunday morning, 8:30. Greg Pence on this week,
Greg
right?
Pence, the brother of Mike Pence, the former vice president, who I know a lot of you out there don't like. But Greg Pence is a fascinating guy. He was in the energy sector. I didn't know this. His family, they owned a bunch of gas stations. And we're going to talk about energy policy. We're going to talk about where we're heading in America. And listen to it. I think you'll like it.
It's going to be great. Tomorrow afternoon, 1 p.m., Sunday morning, 8:30. Mark Alford's America on KCMO, Missouri's 4th Congressional District. Always good to have you here, Mark. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Pete. I enjoy it. And thank you to all the listeners out there. God bless you, and God bless Missouri and the United States of America.
He's Mark Alford. News in a minute. We're back with Caller of the Day on a Friday.